Yeah, I'm Andrew Rectors, CEO of ChargeSim. So, I mean, we're all here today because we want to try and save the environment, and we know how important sustainable transit is to trying to do that, and the value that electric buses can have to save the environment. Oops. But of course, charging infrastructure is a major part of the cost. I mean, that's been discussed at a number of the sessions. I think I see some people here who even have been talking about that at sessions today, about how important charging infrastructure is. And a major driver of that is the peak power. How many chargers do we need to running at the same time? How big are the cables from the utility? How many transformers do we need? All of these kind of things. So that's often a big driver of the costs. And so ChargeSim is a design and modeling tool to help figure out what those could be and to help minimize them. So I'll just play a quick intro here.
Charging a single bus starts with one charger and enough utility capacity to power it 100%. But charging a fleet is a different story. An entire base doesn't need to be charged at the same time, which means lower peak utility demand and potentially fewer chargers. But how do you know how many you need? ChargeSim translates your schedule and energy requirements into the daily power profiles that your utility needs. You can explore options to help reduce grid peak demand and take advantage of time-of-day utility rates. ChargeSim models base charger configuration, including lane positions, smart charging algorithms, and bus specifics. You can explore options and find the right chargers and utility requirements for your base. Simulations show operational workflows and parking arrangements, including tasks like cleaning. An easy-to-use web interface lets you leverage cloud computing power right from your browser. ChargeSim. Design your charging. Charging a single...
Yeah, so the key value there, of course, is to reduce grid costs. So if we're able to go from having a peak without any kind of charge management, and I think Amply talked about it earlier, but there's a number of other vendors offering similar tools, we could save 5 megawatts, for instance, in this case, just by deferring a little bit of the charging till later at night, still getting the same performance out of the buses, and in the process, probably saving about $50,000 a month in utility costs. But we've got to design that, and we've got to figure out how much we need. And so, without any charge management, we're just going to have a very high peak, and we're going to pay significant peak demand charges, and we may have more chargers and infrastructure than we need. On the other hand, you put in too few chargers, you run the risk of not having enough power. And therefore, ChargeSim helps you simulate it, helps you run a few different scenarios and figure out what the optimal is for your fleet. So ChargeSim starts with the schedule and energy requirement. This is provided external to the tool. There are simulation tools for en route performance, and vendors often have this where they can figure out how much a route and how much energy a route will take. You can also just use a kilowatt hour per mile multiplied by the length of the block, for instance, for a first approximation. And then we'll take in also information about the size of the battery, that type of thing. And then work with things like different layout options. So how long are the lanes, or what are the different configurations, different charger load management. So different peak kilowatt levels you want to try, and you can simulate different levels with. Different charging strategies. I'll touch on that again in a minute. Charger selection. Do you need 150 kilowatt? Does it make sense to bring in fast, for instance, 450 kilowatt chargers? And another key one is workflow. So moving buses around the base. If you are having less chargers than buses, you need to move them around. How often do you need to do that? And how much labor is that going to take? ChargeSim, because it simulates every movement on the base, it can tell you how many movements there are and potentially how many staff you need to be able to do that. And of course, coming up with power projections that you can take to your utility to start discussing with them and understand better and start discussing about different utility rates. So I talked earlier about charging strategies, and I want to give a really simple example of how that can be important. So if I have 3 buses arriving at the same time needing charging, let's say about 10 a.m. in the morning after the morning work, one way to do it would just be average power charging. So I dedicate the same amount of power to each of them. They're all going to charge slowly, and after, let's say, about 6 hours, they're finished and they're all ready to go. But the other strategy I could use would be first come, first serve. And there I'm going to put all of the energy into one bus and then finish that bus completely. Oops, sorry. and then move on to the next one and the next one. And this can be a big advantage because now I have 6 hours or 6 bus hours of additional time available to run service in the late afternoon that I wouldn't have had with average charging. However, with first come, first serve, dedicating all the power to one input, you do end up charging faster, which means higher losses. You're using higher current, so triple the current actually means 9 times the losses. That means the batteries get hotter, and that'll mean they tend to last less. There'll be more battery degradation with fast charging. And so it could be that it makes sense for your fleet to do average charging overnight when you have plenty of time, and first come, first serve during the day. But these are the kind of trade-offs that you can explore with ChargeSim, because you can actually run different scenarios and see which ones are going to work well for your fleet. So there's a couple types of projects that often use ChargeSim for. One is on a planning level, and here we start out with principally just working with the schedule and translating that into an initial power requirement using some generic assumptions for the other elements. That can be helpful if you want to figure out, I've got 10 bases and how much power are each of them going to require. And then the other one is in the design phase. So here you're looking at specific chargers, lane configurations, exact transformer groupings, that kind of thing. And ChargeSim can help you put all of that together and figure that out and run simulations. So I'll just show a couple projects that ChargeSim has been used for and some of the outcomes with that. So for LA Metro, it was used to help design Division 9. This is a 100 bus deployment. And ChargeSim was able to figure out that the buses could be charged in the available capacity, and also found that we could go to multiple output chargers, reducing the number of depot chargers by 1/3. So that significantly cuts the capital cost of the project. And using different parking strategies that work well with the multiple output or multiple dispenser chargers. Another one, and this is an example of a planning project, was WMATA. And there is a 150 bus base. And the charge management demonstrated that instead of just using an unrestricted peak, a much lower power level with energy management would be possible. And that also helped them to have a much better conversation with their utility, because they also had power curves that they could take and discuss and say that, this is what I expect the impact will be. ChargeSim, pleased to announce, we also have ChargeSim is sold as a software package. So it's a license, it's a web-based tool. You just log in and you can do the analysis directly. Also have preferred consultants. If you'd like to work with a consultants, LTK Engineering Services and WSP are familiar with ChargeSim and able to help with doing that analysis. Also looking for more partners if there's interest. And Wise Charging is the consulting affiliate for ChargeSim. So with that, happy to sponsor the conference today. Certainly have a look at the website, book a demo if you'd like to find out some more, and we can show you how ChargeSim can really help you to understand your energy needs better and plan your charging infrastructure more effectively. Any questions?